My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe knows South Lake. Welcome, and happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday. I know Miss Doors is proud of me somewhere for it. We want to say welcome to South Lake County. I am Joe Carlisle. This is Joe Knows South Lake, if you hadn't figured it out already. Just want to say, man, it's a great day. Only in Florida could it be this close to Christmas. And, man, I am struggling with heat and humidity. It got so bad last night, I actually had to turn the air conditioner back on. I bummed out. I want to open my windows and just keep them open for like 3 solid months. But, I said to my wife this morning, how is it that everybody else in the country is dealing with record-killing, fatal cold, and I'm sweating, and it's humid? And she looked at me, she was like, well, it's Florida, honey. It's why we moved here. You know what? You're right. I'm not going to complain because I don't like snow. I live in Florida. I'm from there. I came here for a reason. At any rate, we have a great show for you today. Jay's shaking his head at me, as usual. We have a great show for you today.
That accent, Joe, is very...
You like my Southern Chicago accent?
Is that Southern Chicago?
That's it.
I don't know.
I'm a Southerner.
I've been
Southern Chicago.
Yeah, I've been to the south side of Chicago. They don't sound like that.
Da Bears.
Anyway, I got this pulled up for you, Joe.
Okay, great. It is Christmas Countdown. We're going to talk about Christmas today. 7 days, 13 hours, and 57 minutes. 33, 32, 31. Oh, boy. Can't wait. I'm actually being really blessed. We're going to talk about Christmas later. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about today. Maple syrup. Got to tune in. Maple syrup isn't what you think it is, so tune in for that. Santa questions. We're going to cover Santa questions again. I need them. Cup of Joe. We're going to continue talking about Christmas, traditions, history, memories, all the best parts of Christmas. And then we're going to be joined by one of our awesome city employees again, Ms. Jennifer Pierce. Awesome lady. And she was actually just awarded the Fire Marshal of the Year for Florida. We're bringing her in to talk about what a fire marshal does and, to a large degree, some winter fire safety tips. So this is going to cover a little bit of Christmas, but go into January when the space heaters come out. I'm really looking forward to hearing from this because, like when Chief was here, she's got some really interesting stuff that I'd never thought about before. So you stay tuned. We're going to hear from our sponsors, and when we get back, we'll get started. See you in a minute.
Hello, I'm Mary Rhodes with the mortgage firm, your local mortgage lender. I've helped thousands of families achieve the dream of homeownership in Lake County, and I would love to help you. Our team has over 30 years of experience helping first-time homebuyers, veterans, move-up buyers, seasoned investors, and more. Please read our reviews and visit us at mortgagefirmpros.com.
Hello, my name is Michael Singh with Singh Insurance and Financial Services. Our goal is to build trust based on a clear understanding of how your insurance policy protects you, your family, and even your business. When was the last time you took a good hard look at your insurance coverage? Would you be open to the possibility of reviewing your policy with me? One review of your policy can save you valuable time and money. Call me today to set up a review of what may be available to you.
Are you tired of having drugs or alcohol ruin your life? Do you need to get off pain pills but still maintain pain relief? My office in Tavares has programs to help you. While not covered by insurance, program fees are affordable. My name is Alan Zupkin. I'm board certified and have helped thousands of patients achieve these goals. Please call me for further information.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors. And welcome back. Love to hear from our sponsors. Mary Rhodes, right in the beginning. Mary Rhodes was actually our first sponsor. I really appreciate her. She just wasn't in at the beginning. She was in to support me and Jay right when we first got started. I really appreciate her. Michael Singh was the same way. It didn't take him long. We brought him in for an interview. He saw what we were doing. He caught the vision, as well as Dr. Zubkin. They caught the vision here. I really appreciate them. And, I think one of the things I appreciate the most about them isn't that they're just here to promote a business. They understand that South Lake TV is promoting a community, is trying to build something that will benefit a community, not just their individuals. Business. I was having a conversation with somebody this morning in one of my morning men's groups, and the conversation got into the difference between advertising here and advertising on a billboard. And my take was the billboard is grossly expensive, one, and yes, it has 20,000 cars drive past it, but you don't know that any of those see you, especially if it's a digital billboard that rotates. But the other thing that was really important was that when you sponsor South Lake TV, when you advertise on our station or sponsor one of our shows, you're helping build the community. You're helping promote the games for all the athletes at the local schools. You're helping support career programs for arts, entertainment, broadcasting, and film through this station. Things we don't charge the school systems anything for. You're helping promote the awareness of what's going on in city council meetings all over South Lake County. You're helping promote all the things that we do for the community for free, because we're trying to promote a community. And I love our sponsors, because when they advertise here, that's what they're doing. Anyways, enough of that. I just want you to know that I appreciate my sponsors. I'm sure they know, and if they don't, they should. All right, what are we going to start with today? It is National Maple Syrup Day. I'll tell you something about maple syrup you may not know. All the maple syrup you see in the grocery store is not actually maple syrup. Most of it is just a sugar syrup with maple flavoring. If a maple syrup is created, I don't know if you're aware, but maple syrup can only be created by tapping the maple trees for their sap at a certain time of year. It comes at times the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, when the maple runs. Okay, and when the syrup comes out, when the sap comes out, they collect it. It takes gallons and gallons and gallons. I think it takes as much as 5 to 10 gallons. I should have done a little more research on this one, but it takes a lot of maple syrup to create a lot of maple sap to create 1 gallon of maple syrup. And if you grow up in Maine, New Hampshire, or Vermont, you probably took a field trip to what they call a sugar house, which is where the maple syrup gets, the sap is turned into syrup, it goes into a big bucket. I love maple syrup. There's nothing like, and if you can buy, now real maple syrup here in Florida is not cheap, but it is worth every penny. I encourage you, take some of that maple syrup that's cheap, which is mostly maple flavored sugar syrup, and compare it to some Vermont maple syrup or New Hampshire maple syrup. What you're going to find is there is a difference in the taste and the depth of flavor. I have kids that won't use anything else. Of course, you're not supposed to use 4 gallons of it. If you have the real stuff, you don't need as much. So it's Maple Syrup Day. Go on out, get yourself some maple syrup. And you can even order online some of the great things that come out of maple syrup. Maple candies, maple drops, there's maple butter, all things that if you're from New England, bring that feeling of going home back. Okay, Santa questions. Look. I asked yesterday, I've asked people, I put it out on Facebook, I need your help here. I have to have some questions from children under 10 to ask to Santa tomorrow. This is tomorrow. If you have a child or know of a child under the age of 10, send their question to the station, to me at the information you see posted posted below. You can even put it in the comments on either our Facebook or our YouTube page, and I will ask Santa, give us the name, the first name of the child and the age, and we'll see if their questions get answered. I'm sure Santa will answer their questions. So that's it for that. Cup of Joe, Christmas. All right. You know, Christmas brings certain ideas. And if you get to be my age, any age you are, you have memories. I was very taken when we covered Light Up Clermont, that a lot of people we interviewed, including the children, their memory was opening presents. And I can tell you, my perspective, my best Christmas memories have almost nothing to do with opening presents. I can remember there was a year that I was in the Marine Corps, and it was my turn to do duty Christmas Day. I wasn't married. I actually volunteered for it. I wasn't married. I was a single man. I was a sergeant. And, you know, as you get upper in the ranks, there's fewer and fewer guys to do the duty. And so I was sitting there and you know, you had something called the non-commissioned officer of the day. You're really the guy that's in charge of making sure nothing bad happens at the barracks. Or if something happens, there's somebody to report to report it up. And there was a guy from my unit walked in with his father-in-law, and I think he had one of his children with him. And he had this box. And these guys had brought me Christmas dinner. Now, the truth is, I had just eaten at the chow hall. I had just eaten turkey and ham and stuffing and gravy and cranberry sauce. And that was exactly what was in this guy's box. But this guy took his son and his father-in-law and came from his home on Christmas Day to bring me a Christmas dinner. And that, I don't think I've ever tasted a Christmas dinner as good, at least up to that point in my life. Because that Christmas dinner wasn't about him. This guy taught me so much about Christmas in that one single act. I learned that Christmas wasn't about me. It was about showing love for others. This guy's wife had made that dinner, and they cut out a big bunch of it to bring to me. And I ate that dinner. I ate every single bite of it, and it was a lot of food on top of the dinner I'd already eaten, because I really appreciated the love that went into the preparation and the delivery. Look, I'm going to encourage you today. Find a way to share Christmas with somebody else. Find a way to share Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. If it brings a warm feeling to you, if there is any love in your heart, any compassion in your soul, find a way to bring a little bit of home to somebody who may not have it. You won't regret it, and you may change somebody's life. You know, here's the thing. I don't even remember that guy's name. I'd have to look through my scrapbooks to remember who he is. But I remember what he did. A single simple act of love that cost him nothing but 20 minutes. Changed my life. Anyways, I encourage you to do that. We're going to talk more about that later on in the week. If you have a fond Christmas memory, please put it in the comments. I'd love to read them. We are going to go to commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to be joined by Jennifer Pierce, Florida Fire Marshal of the Year, and Clermont, City of Clermont Fire Marshal. We're going to find out what a fire marshal does and get some great winter fire safety tips. I'll see you in a minute.
Burgerum, located in the Epic Theater shopping plaza on Highway 27, is the premier destination for gourmet burgers. Using only the freshest ingredients, Burgerum offers a variety of burgers, salads, wings, and a whole lot more. Beef, chicken, lamb, fish, and even veggie. Burgerum has something for everyone, no matter your dietary preference. Burgerum, millions of possibilities, endless combinations.
50 West, now pre-leasing 28,900 square feet of commercial, professional office space in Clermont. Conveniently located on Highway 50, less than 2 miles from the Turnpike. A first of its kind in the Southeast, this pristine building creates the perfect blend of nature and modern design. If you seek a high-level image that matches your business, reserve your space today. 50 West, unique, quality, Class A. For more information on leasing, contact Ashley Punn at 407-403-4165, Karen Arlano at 407-948-0767, or visit lease@50west.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Justin.
We would just like to wish you a very happy holiday from your CBD store, Clermont.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Welcome to Erica's Tea Room. Located in the heart of downtown Clermont, this specialty tea shop offers a traditional high tea experience that can be enjoyed with family and friends. While here, you can choose from over 100 teas from all over the world, and a multitude of teapots are available for purchase. Join us for lunch or choose from one of our special evening events. Call to make a reservation. Erica's Tea Room, making memories with every cup.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors. And welcome back. Love to hear from my sponsors. As I said earlier, look, I got to tell you, I noticed Burger Room was on today, and I got to tell you, that place totally blew me away. I was there with Jay last week. It's my first time there. I am definitely going back. As a matter of fact, I might be going back like tomorrow. Because it was great. I'm dying to get Miss Pat, my wife, out there because, I mean, I just didn't understand the concept quite from descriptions, but once you got there, amazing fry, amazing. And I don't say that very often. Simply amazing. So, and I don't want to leave out, I noticed Erica's Tea Room was up there too. Great place, especially if you're doing some Christmas stuff. Get on out there. She still has a lot of stuff available for gifts right there. You don't have to wait on shipping. As the time starts to shrink, you probably want to be using local retail shops. Our downtown is filled with them. We love our downtown. A lot of places to shop for presents down there, especially if you don't have time for, I was online trying to buy a present last night. What I kept finding, I'd click on something and it'd say not in stock. Deliverable December, December 29th. And I'm like, well, that
doesn't mean no good.
Right under where it says perfect Christmas gift. Well, that's not a Christmas gift.
It's a New Year's gift.
Right. It's a New Year's gift. All right. We are joined by Jenny Pierce. Jenny, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Taking time out of what I'm sure is a busy schedule. Jenny is the City of Clermont Fire Marshal. She is a former Lake Mary fire inspector. She studied nuclear engineering and chemistry to prepare for a life of studying arson or investigating arson. And she has recently been awarded the auspicious position of being the Florida Fire Marshal of the Year. Welcome, Jenny. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
You and I talked a little bit. You have children that are growing and getting a little bit older, and I never thought of, in total honesty, I never thought of fire marshal as a position filled by a woman, but obviously you've been doing it many years. Shame on me, for not looking in. But this whole Florida Fire Marshal of the Year, tell us first what a fire marshal does.
So a fire marshal, especially in Clermont with all of our growth, we're in charge of the building from the ground up. So when they start to lay the pipe, when they start to build the building, we're looking at it from a safety standpoint. Is it going to be safe for the citizens? Is it going to be safe for firefighters that might respond? Once the buildings are built, we maintain the safety, the fire and life safety. We come in and do inspections. And then the fun part of our job is if there is a fire, God forbid, we get to come in and kind of be the fire department CSI team and do the arson investigation.
sad but interesting,
yes.
right?
And
right.
then the fun part of our job is we handle all of the community education. So whether it's going to the schools with the kids or going to a business teaching CPR, and we also run a fire cadet program for kids 14 to 18 through the fire department.
Oh, that's really, really cool. So what did you do to be the fire marshal of the year? I mean, in the whole state. Is it? I mean, I just, this is, I said auspicious and you giggled, but, to be the fire marshal, the Florida fire marshal of the year, you beat out Tampa and Jacksonville and Orlando and, West Palm Beach. I'm sure there are a lot of fire marshals out. Every city has one, don't they? So, I mean, what was it? Was it the education? What do you think it was? Did they outline that in your award?
It was, I think this past year has just been the year that I was really involved in a lot of things. I taught on a national level at some of the conferences. The sprinkler industry has what they call the champion of the industry, where you champion fire sprinklers in the homes. I also am part of a national campaign through the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition, where they talk about safety in firefighter families. Kind of, if you're going to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk kind of thing. So I got real involved in that. And then I just took a real big role in education for the state. We have some national and international and local groups, and we all participate in those, but I'm in charge of the education for the state of Florida, and I'm the state education chair for our sprinkler organization. And then I got real involved in the legislative committee. I go and I meet with our legislators in Tallahassee to discuss things that can impact our community. And even if they don't necessarily change their mind, at least they're a little bit more informed about the things that impact us.
Okay, so much like some of my best guests, I sat down, as I do with every guest, to come up with an introduction. And my best guess always, I came up with 3 things. We worked at that for a little bit, didn't we? She didn't mention any of this. I'm always taken by the humility of my guests that have all of this work and these awards and these things that you do, and you didn't mention a single thing about it. You actually had to work at the 3 things we picked, right?
Yep.
So I am so glad to have you here. You said something. I'd like you to talk for a quick hot minute, and literally a hot minute, about sprinklers and smoke detectors in the home. We're really told that smoke detectors are the best way to save your family if there is a fire. But you mentioned sprinklers, which are typically not required in residential housing. And as a realtor, I see that a lot. So can you tell us a quick minute about that?
Fire sprinklers are great. If you think about it, when a fire truck responds to your home to put out a fire, it takes about 250 gallons per minute pumping off the truck. So when a residential sprinkler head goes off, it's about 15 to 17 gallons per minute. So a lot less water damage. Additionally, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes for the fire truck to arrive, and things burn so much hotter and so much quicker now than they did back in the old days when we had wood and cotton. Now we have plastic and synthetic fibers. So
yeah, they go up.
Yeah,
that quick,
just like
right.
that. So a fire sprinkler, unlike what you see on TV or in Hollywood, they don't all go off at the same time. It's just one head. Usually the fires are put out by a single head, and even to retrofit your home, it only takes about a day for them to come in and put in the system. And I would say it's about $1.50 a square foot. And the cost saving, like for me on my homeowner's insurance, I save 25% a year by having sprinklers in my home.
Wow.
So that kind of offsets the cost. Plus, your family's going to have extra time to get out and, be safe if, God forbid, you were to have a fire.
Do you find, do you need I think that the typical idea for that is, how much water is that going to suck? Right? Am I just hooked up to the regular city system?
Yep.
Is that not available to me if I have a pump?
No, it's right off your domestic water supply. If you're on a well, you may extend the size of, your capacity, or you may put up a small little what we would consider a water tower, but not really,
right,
just
right,
a little,
yeah.
On-site water tower for your property, or a water tank. And then you asked about smoke detectors. What most people don't realize is there's 2 types. There's the type that picks up a fast flaming fire like me if you burn the toast, or a slow smoldering fire like maybe an electrical fire. So they've actually passed legislation, and if you go into the stores now, it'll indicate on those smoke detectors, this one's for the hallway, this one's for the bedroom, and it kind of helps you pick the right one. People were taking the batteries out for nuisance alarms, so most of the new smoke detectors on the market have a 10-year lithium-ion battery. You can test them each month, but once it starts chirping or your 10 years are up, you throw that sucker away and get a new one.
Just get a new one. I love that.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to have to bring on, now I'm going to have to get a sprinkler company come in here on a Thursday on Homefront and talk about fire safety for homes. It's a great idea. All right, we talked about, this is winter fire safety tips. While it's hot today, the weather is going to drop. January is going to get here. We're going to have several days or several weeks of temperatures at or below 50. And typically people start thinking heating, and a lot of people don't want to turn on that air conditioner, the heat pump associated with their air conditioner. So we end up with space heaters. Seems like I see a story every year where someone burned their house down because of a space heater. Can you tell us, give us some ideas about space heaters or at least methods of heating where we don't endanger ourselves?
Joe, I'm really glad you asked me about that. In the past, a lot of people contributed fires to cigarette smoking, and cooking is still by far the leading cause, but heating and space heaters are actually the number 2 cause now, and they account for a large percentage of the fire deaths in the United States. When we get to these winter months, we don't use our fireplaces or our heaters that often. So we're already running a lot of calls when people turn their heaters on and stuff starts to smoke up, or they haven't cleaned out their chimney. So when they start that first fire of the year, the whole house fills up with smoke.
It's a flu. Open it.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, we do have tropical storm weather that comes in and puts a lot of debris, or animals build a nest. But with space heaters in particular, there are so many on the market now that feature a lot of kind of safety technology. If it flips over, it'll turn off. One of the biggest things I can say is never plug a space heater into an extension cord. That cord will heat up, especially if it's not designed for that space heater. Yep. And then your carpet's on fire. You want to make sure you're at least 3 feet away from anything combustible. So that means your bed, your curtains, a chair you might have in your room, magazines you may have laying on the floor. You just want to make sure that there's nothing anywhere nearby, even if it were to fall over.
So I'm feeling like if I have like a hoarder house, and I hate to say hoarder, but if I have a lot of stuff cramped into a small place, that's probably not the space that I should be using a space heater in.
Absolutely.
I should clear the space out first.
Absolutely. And, you just want to make sure that you've purchased one that most people don't realize there's little circles on the back of all of your electrical equipment. Usually it has a little UL or an ETL in there, and those products have been tested for safety. So if you buy something and it seems unusually cheap, there's a reason that it's unusually cheap. So it might not be the safest product in the home.
I'm going to cut you off here. We're going to come back and talk about some of this stuff. We're going to go to commercial break. Folks, don't go away. This is very important information. Could keep you, your children, your pets, your parents alive. So please to stick around. We'll be back in just a minute. And when we come back, more winter fire safety tips from Jennifer Pierce. We'll talk to you later. Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
50 West, pre-leasing now in Clermont. A first-of-its-kind commercial development in the Southeast. Contact us today to reserve your spot in this historic development. 50 West, unique, quality, Class A. For more information on leasing, contact Ashley Punn at 407-403-4165. Karen Arlano at 407-948-0767. Or visit lease at 50west.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Justin.
We would just like to wish you a very happy holiday from your CBD store, Clermont.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors. Welcome back. We are joined today by Jennifer Pierce, lovingly known as Jenny, Jeny, and I. We joked about that earlier. She is telling us about winter fire safety tips. She's the person to tell us because she is the Florida Fire Marshal of the Year. Great accolade. So we were just talking about space heaters, and it seems every year I see a news story about an entire family that dies from carbon monoxide poisoning. I don't get that because a space heater failed. I mean, how do you get carbon monoxide from a space heater?
Usually in those deaths, they're using a heater that maybe runs off of kerosene or oil, and it puts off a carbon monoxide poisoning. Sometimes.
So is that like a camp heater? Are they using it improperly? Yes. That's my question, I guess.
Or faulty equipment. There's a lot of space heaters that are run off of propane, especially people who may not be able to afford electricity. Maybe they've had their power cut off, or a part of a homeless community, things like that. They'll use a propane heater. And, it's just like using a generator during a storm. You never want to use those products inside the home with no ventilation. Going along those lines, you don't want to use a stove to heat the house, particularly a gas stove. You run a high risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. So any type of heating device, you always want to have at least one carbon monoxide detector in the home. We always encourage at least to be near the hallway so you have notification if you're asleep in your bedroom. Do
you find that that's a mistake that people come down from up north? Because up north, if you're in a small apartment, everybody turns. I mean, you have a gas stove, because most people don't have gas stoves in apartments anymore. But I know when I was young, turning on that stove to heat an apartment was cheaper than running oil. And
absolutely.
So, do you find that that's when you see most of that is when somebody comes down from up north, or is it just people aren't used to heat here, so they make a lot of mistakes?
I think it's a combination of both. People do have different ways of doing things in different parts of the United States. And then, too, we're just so unfamiliar with heat. Can you imagine if we had snow here? We would be paralyzed. Yep. People wouldn't know what to do. So that happens when we have 2 or 3 of these really cold, evenings. People just aren't anticipating that. And they're maybe they don't even have heat in their house.
It's funny you said that, because I can remember when I was in the Marine Corps, it's my first time away from New England in my life. And I've seen this several times over the last several years, I was in North Carolina and they had like 1.5 inches of snow and the whole place was and there was a lot of fires, but people, they didn't know what to do. Nobody could go anywhere. Well, I'm from New England. If it's not 12 inches or more,
you're
not
really
going to work. It's not a deal. That's not paralyzing. We've been talking about the space heaters. Tell us a little bit about fireplaces, because I know those cause a problem too.
The biggest challenges we see with fireplaces, like I mentioned earlier, is people, don't clean them out or they don't open the flues. But also, people are just so unfamiliar with using them that kids come up near them because they're not familiar with it. They see the pretty fire, they want to put their hands in. So we really encourage keeping everything at least 3 feet away, whether it's the children, flammable material, again, magazines, gifts.
Don't keep your kindling right there.
Absolutely. This time of year, a lot of people want to hang decorations from the mantle above. You don't want your stockings dangling down in front of the fire. It looks pretty on TV, but not in real life when they're flaming up.
Makes sense.
None of that greenery.
Yeah, you have I love this graphic right here.
Yeah. Absolutely. It only takes about 30 seconds for a Christmas tree to ignite, which that's another great safety tip.
30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
We've just sucked up since the commercial break, 5 minutes, Jay? That can happen fast.
30 seconds. And again, it's so important to remember it takes your Clermont Fire Department, and we're pretty elite, if I do say so myself.
No, you are. Great
it takes us about 3 to 5 minutes to arrive to your home.
Once the call is made.
Once you notice that there's a fire in the home. So if you think about that Christmas tree going up in 30 seconds and, igniting the gifts and the things that you have in there, you have a very short time frame to
Well, I'm looking at, Jay, do you still have that picture up? So I'm looking at this picture. It's not I can ignite the greenery on the fireplace. I can ignite the tree. If that falls over, the presents are done. That chair is done. If it falls across the fireplace, it's going to light up all. I mean, that in a minute, that room is total. What do they call it? Totally involved?
Absolutely.
No, fully
Flash it.
involved.
Yep.
And
if you look at in the windows there's also candles in that graphic.
Right.
And that's another thing.
I hope they're electric. Right?
Yeah. I hope they're electric too.
Here's another one. It is your candle graphic here.
I'm in big favor of going flameless, using those flameless candles. They make some that are just as pretty.
And they're far better than they used to be. Yeah.
Candles are one of the top 5 leading causes of fires, not just for catching stuff on fire, but they're temporary. They're sitting in a location that they're maybe not normally there.
Right.
Pets knock them over. Kids knock them over. You knock them over when you're cooking. And the next thing you know, your dish towel's laying in the candle. So that's just one of the things to be very cautious about.
And the candle probably spilled a bunch of wax. So now there's fuel on the thing that's flammable. Yeah. That's great. We were just talking about fire and flame. Let's shift to the outside for a second. Because this time of year, people have a lot of people in. I know that, when my kids were older and coming home from college in their lives, for us, we were in an area. I had a half acre, huge backyard, fire pit. Was a big deal, Tell us a little bit. I'm sure you see fires every year because fire pits you were telling me it's one of the biggest calls you get.
People call a lot because they want to know, can they burn? My neighbor's got a fire pit. Are they allowed to have the fire pit? And there's a lot of regulations.
Let me rain on somebody else's parade, right?
You want to be at least 25 feet from your house, because you don't want to catch your house on fire. But you also have to be 150 feet from any other structure. So you don't want to put your fire pit right up on your property line to catch your neighbor's property on fire.
Right.
But some of the biggest things that I can offer for safety tips is, for example, if you build something and it's not in a completely enclosed container, you want to make sure that you put rocks or something down on the bottom so the flame's not dripping down onto the ground below and catching the grass on fire. You always want to make sure you have a water source, whether it's your garden hose, a bucket of water, a water extinguisher, something nearby. A good rule of thumb that I saw one time is when you get ready to leave and you're done with your fire for the night, you want to extinguish that fire so much, whether it's with water or, shoveling dirt on top of it, that you should be able to stick your finger in the fire pit and not burn your finger.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, because so many times people put, I think, did you bring this graphic up already? We have a great graphic here giving you an idea of how far you should be from the things and is this on your website? Is this on the Clermont website? Or
this was added to the city website either this morning or yesterday afternoon. And this is on there along with the phone number for our local Division of Forestry. Great. And, if you have any questions, they're happy to issue burn permits or come out.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. And so here's the thing is, so often people will think, they do the Western thing, right? They're just going to kick some. But if you don't extinguish the fire before you put the dirt on it, you're just bedding those embers. They're not going anywhere. It's going to be hot for days. And here in Florida, you could catch roots on fire.
Absolutely.
The heat could get enough that some tree roots coming under. Yeah. Now you got something smoldering. You don't know what happened. The other thing, somebody gave me a trick once. They said if you're not in a pit, the 2 tricks. They said you should douse it with water until it stops smoking. Mm-hmm. If you just throw some water on, it's going to steam, but then it's going to smoke. You should douse it until it stops smoking. But the other thing that they told me was if you're not going to use like an elevated pit, that stone thing. They said every fire pit, even one you dig yourself, you're going to go right in the ground. You should have a layer of stone down there.
Absolutely.
Which, is hard to keep pretty, but will keep you safe.
Well, and it's really important to remember to use, maybe the flame logs or wood or paper, but you never want to throw in your household debris. You don't want to throw in any pressurized canisters, the old hairspray canister or spray paint.
Don't save your boxes from Christmas to burn on New Year's, right?
And don't have a fire pit going with a nice flame and start squirting lighter fluid on it or gasoline. Anything that is flammable has fumes that can ignite, and you don't want to catch yourself on fire.
There's that one guy in every group that wants to have this huge dance around the fire, bonfire, flame.
Absolutely.
And that's not really the point of when the city allows us to have a nice fire for entertaining. It's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a little enjoyment,
Contained.
little smell, little, just little non-technical ambiance. It's, I can remember one year that my kids were older and they were getting ready to do a graduation party. And again, we had that big, huge yard. Told them they could have a fire. Well, I walked outside and they had this thing going that was like 10 feet high and it's under a tree. I was like, well, we didn't want to burn the house, but you're under a tree.
The tree's going to be on fire.
The tree's going to be on fire. And I tell you, it took me 3 years to grow leaves back on because it never caught fire, but the heat killed that side of the tree. These things are so important. And how do you encourage? Get my tongue to work. Switching back to, we were talking about a fire. You're talking about how long it takes them to get there. But I know a lot of times when people see a fire, if somebody gets hurt, their initial thing, if somebody has a heart attack, pick up, call 911. They see a fire, they start freaking out. It's not always the first thing they do. Should people plan for fires? What's the best way to prepare just in case one happens? We talked about preventing one.
Absolutely.
How do we respond if we see one?
Well, it's great because, like you said, when a fire happens, people tend to panic. And so many times people will say, I was going to call 911, but I forgot the number.
Yeah. I was going to put it out myself. That's my thing. Give me a bucket of water. No, call 911.
There's some great things you can do. Absolutely keeping a fire extinguisher nearby, hiding it under the sink behind all the cleaners, not really the best place to put it.
You don't want to go reaching.
There's some great products out on the market. For example, one that we always suggest is called Tundra. It looks like a can of bug spray. It sprays like a can of bug spray. So it's real user friendly. You don't have a big, heavy fire extinguisher to, try and lug around, and it doesn't take up a lot of room in your kitchen. But some of the things that we recommend is just where you place things. For example, for a cooking fire, you may want to use...
Oh, he brought some of these up.
Yep.
This is new technology because when I was 20 years ago, when I was, raising my kids, if you were going to have a fire extinguisher, it was going to look like one of those on the bottom left there,
Yep. And this is just really user friendly, especially for our older active seniors. It's something that's a lot more user friendly for them.
I like that. It's push a button
as
opposed to pull a pin, use a hose, put it under your arm.
But like I was saying, even the way you lay out things in your home, keeping the largest cookie sheet you have, maybe over by the refrigerator. So if you have a cooking fire, you can slide that big cookie sheet over the pot.
Oh, I like that.
They say put the pan lid on. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want to stick my arm with that little lid right over the pan.
Right.
So, keeping your cookie sheet by, making sure you have those smoke detectors working.
That's so important too. And I'm a cook, and so many people, their first instinct is to throw water on a fire. Well, if you're using an electric stove and you're cooking something with grease, bad move. Right?
Bad because you don't want water and electricity together, and you don't want water on grease.
And so many people miss the idea that most grease fires in a cooking situation are not in a pot; they're in a pan. You throw water on it, you just splashed your fire onto everything else, right?
And that goes back to trying to put the lid over that. I don't want to stick my arm over that. So if you use your big cookie sheet and slide the cookie sheet over the pan and then turn the heat off, because, fire takes three things: heat, oxygen, and fuel. So if you smother the oxygen that's getting to it with that cookie sheet and you turn off the heat, you're eliminating the fire.
Another tip, and I've made this mistake, don't put the lid on and then take the lid off to check it. Leave it alone for like 20 minutes, because the minute that oxygen comes back in, right?
Whoosh, right back up again.
Back up.
And it's the same.
And it might even be worse because now you flashed it, right?
Yep. Microwave fire, oven fire, it's the same thing. Leave that door closed, don't open it. And with any fire, whether it's the outside fire pit or in the home, if you feel like you've got a fire, you think you smell smoke, or you think your outside fire pit's getting a little out of control, always call us right away. We don't charge a fee to come out. We want to be there as quick as possible to prevent anything from happening. And we'd rather you feel comfortable. And if there is an emergency, God forbid, we'd rather be there as quick as possible to put it out.
Look, and for most people that aren't talking about an acre and a half, 2 acres of land, if you're talking about a regular yard, it's far cheaper to buy a hose extension and have your hose available.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the smart things I always did, was I always had the hose close enough to grab. I didn't have to go run it out. When I lit the fire,
It's
the
right
hose
there.
was already turned on and prepared. And that's far cheaper than dealing with an injury or a fire that's going to really freak out. And I mean, be aware, especially if you're outside and the wind kicks up and you see sparks headed to your neighbor's yard. Look, do the solid thing. Wrap it up. You know, we have the fire department Facebook page.
Absolutely. We
Here-
are so excited for our new fire department Facebook page.
We hope we'll share this later today, and we're gonna hope you guys will share it on your Facebook page.
Absolutely.
So see if we get these tips out. You know, I did want to also do. We haven't talked about this much, but just to be sure, people, you know, here in Florida, we plan for a hurricane, right? Is it where you're going to be? What's going to happen? One of the most important things I think anybody can do is have an emergency plan. And we're not just talking about hurricanes or fires, but if you should have, I don't know, once a year, as your children get older, you know, if it's just you and your wife, you can have a conversation. But, you know, as your children get older, having a fire drill and walking through what they're going to have happen, who's going to be responsible for who's going to grab the important papers, who's grabbing the pets,
absolutely.
you know, who's not grabbing this is always a thing that kills me. Nobody wants their pets to pass away, okay, but don't lose your life over a pet.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. We will go in and retrieve
Let
your
the
animals.
firemen
Yep.
save the
We
pets.
have pet oxygen masks
Right.
and everything, so we're prepared to rescue your pets. But the biggest thing is we teach these kids, you know, we come into the schools and we teach stop, drop, and roll and get low and go. And then we become adults and, you know, how many times do you have a fire drill?
Right.
You know?
You don't.
And
You
so
don't.
absolutely, whether it's a tornado or a fire or any type of disaster, the time is not to figure out what you're going to do when the disaster is hitting. You
Right.
should already have a plan. Florida has a great website, disaster.org. You can go on and make your family's emergency plan. You know, it's great to pick an emergency contact that maybe is not in your family, not in your home. So maybe if you and your family members are separated, if you call, you know, Aunt Susan in Connecticut and say, "Hi, I'm safe."
Right,
If you
right.
talk to my wife, let her know I'm safe.
Facebook check-in, you
Yep.
know, you can do that. I'm safe. You know, here's the thing too. It's really funny is that I know people, and this is so important because it's direct and important. And right now, I know people who are preppers for like zombie apocalypse and nuclear war. Oh, they're all prepped for that, but they've never had a fire drill. It's
Absolutely.
like, really? Really? You're prepped for a nuclear bomb to drop or for a zombie apocalypse, but you're not prepped
For a fire.
for a fire, which has a higher likelihood of happening,
Absolutely.
right? So, anyways, thank you, Jennifer. I
No,
really
thank
appreciate
you for having me.
joining us.
No, I've had a great time. I appreciate it.
You know, you guys from the city and from all of our municipalities are always so gracious to us. We really, really appreciate you. I want to say a big shout out to Catherine Dean. Because of some schedule changing, because there's some yuck going through some of the offices. We had to reschedule yesterday morning's original guest. We were able to move Sergeant Draper into yesterday. Jennifer was supposed to be, I think you were after Christmas, and you ended up coming in today.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate you being flexible. But I want to have a great shout out to the friend of the show and the station, Catherine Dean. She's the one that made it happen. I know she wasn't feeling good and she was sick, or she'd have come and done yesterday's interview herself.
Yep.
And I just really appreciate her going the extra mile to make sure we had guests for yesterday and today. So thank you very much. All right, look, if you know somebody that should be a guest on Joe Knows South Lake, let me know. Jay has the information up. You know how to get a hold of me. If you know somebody that should be branding here, and you should be branding here, this is the best way. Sponsoring a show or advertising on South Lake TV is the best way to get your message directly to South Lake County consumers. I don't need to say anything else. It's just true. Finally, I would like to remind you that there is greatness inside you. And like Jennifer is using with her greatness, bringing out the greatness in others, keeping a community safe, I dare you to use your greatness to bring out the greatness in others. Spread a little Christmas cheer today. Random act of kindness. You won't regret it, and you may change somebody's life. With all that said, I will see you tomorrow. Merry Christmas, and I love you. Bye-bye. My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe knows South Lake. Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors: